Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. I was shuffling stuff around yesterday while I was watering, and going back, I don't believe I've ever had this much yellow. It's definitely yellow city at the moment. I mean, it's literally, if you put all the plants together, it's nearly all yellow at the moment. There are some others, but I mean, the Friedrichsianum is going now. Each day I'm taking like half a dozen blooms off, so it's getting less and less. So this will be gone soon, and then we have a year to wait before we see that again. And obviously all of the blooming took place on these bare canes. The next lot of blooms will be on these canes, the leaved ones, because they will take the place of those. And then the year after that, it'll be that lot up there, the new ones, of which there are quite a few. That's growing quite well up there. Good, and a smashing new root system, so that are good. But yeah, there's my species Tulumnia, that's yellow. That looks like that's starting to fade now. Being a species, the chances are it wouldn't last as long as some of the hybrid Tulumnias. But I mean, at least it produced 2 spikes, even though the second one's only got 3 blooms on. I can't remember, because it's over 2 years ago this last bloomed, and I can't remember whether they branched. I don't think they did. It seems to be a trait more on the hybrids. And more yellow over here. I mean, Wedding Bells is hanging on nicely, but there are some blooms starting to fade. So again, and okay, Poetic License, that's orange, but it's still yellowy. And the Wildcat Cheetah is hanging on. These blooms don't show any signs of going yet. They're lasting well. And again, good rich colours on that one. Harveyanum seems to be having quite a burst at the moment. It's pushing out spikes from the tangle in the middle. I don't let that go yet because it hasn't got a good enough root system. If I take the ties off, it'll flop, and the weight of those canes will probably pull it out of the pot. So it's got to stay strapped for a while. So the spikes are a little constrained, but they fight their way out and show on the outside of the plant. It does look a bit unusual, but yeah, so that's those. So over here we don't have yellow anymore. This is the purpley pinky things, the non-yellow, let's call it like that. This Tulumnia, that's Pink Sunset, that's still looking good, and it's worth filming this because this is about it now on Dendrobium hercoglossum. I think this will be about the last spike now. There's one other one over the other side with 2 blooms on. All the rest have faded, so that and I don't see any more buds now. I mean, these were the hangers-on buds. It did its mass blooming quite a while ago now, and these are just the odd buds, the trailing behind ones, but I think that's it now. So now it's looking forward to pushing on the new canes. The new canes that are growing now will not bloom next year. If they do, it'll be a very lightweight blooming. The canes that will bloom best next year are last year's canes. So they grew last year. They'll grow on through the winter because this doesn't stop growing in the winter, it keeps going, so it doesn't get rested, and they'll bloom in the spring. I just hope there's enough of them to do a mass blooming again, because this year's show was pretty good. There was something, what was it when I was watering? Oh yeah, I probably can't get it out. I will try without knocking everything over. Now this is a dendrochilum, or chillum, however you want to say it, and I know nothing about this, but what I do know is it's pushing up 2 good strong new growths. So it's growing. I mean, that was sitting there doing nothing for some considerable time, not dying but not growing, but it's growing now. It's got 2 new growths, one either side. I haven't got a clue whether that's going to bloom or not, or whether it's going to, but there are new roots coming out from under those new growths. So that's a bit of progress on a plant. Quite honestly, most of the Dendrochilum blooms are not of interest to me. They're often called rat's tails. simply because, you know, you can have a bloom spike 3 or 4 inches long that's got over 100 blooms on it, and they're about 2 millimeters across. And unless you get a magnifying glass out, you can't see them. They're beautiful if you can get in close, but they don't appeal to me because, I mean, I haven't got perfect eyesight and I can't keep getting a magnifying glass out. So it's not something that appeals to me. I certainly wouldn't have a collection of them, but I'm happy to grow one and see how it does. Oh, my back's playing up again today. It comes and goes. I live with it. Yeah, so that's all for out here today, apart from the fact I seem to be getting more ants. So I've got to find where they're coming from, because I thought I'd whack the nests outside because I can see them, and I've got a spray that, you know, they basically wipes the nest out, allegedly. But no doubt they've reduced the strength of that as well, and it doesn't work as well as it used to, like they do with everything else. It's a bit sad that that Vanda has got all those brown marks. I've never had that on blooms before. I haven't got a clue what's caused it. It could be one reason, it could be many reasons, but that's the first time I've ever had a Vanda spike go like that. Luckily, whether I can show it, so I'm stood on tiptoe here, there's another spike coming up behind. So there's 2 ants on that spike. But yeah, I've got brown marks. This one's come out clean, but most of the others have got these brown marks on. It's going to be some sort of bacterial thing, I would imagine. Maybe the bud's got too damp. But whatever it is, it's spoilt the look of them. But that's what they should look like. That's more like it. And the dodgy Vanda, the one that I had trouble with in the winter, that's pushing a spike out now. That's growing quite quickly. And the one that has the nice browny orangey flowers, both spikes are pushing on nicely, and the buds are forming on that one now. So that should be open in the not too distant future. That's coming on nicely. Oh, that's made me shoulder ache. This camera is not a lightweight, you know, and actually holding it above my head for any length of time, it's not comfortable, we'll just call it that. It's not, you know, it's not silly, but it's not that comfortable. If I ever get a new camera, it's going to be half the size of this, much lighter, and it would certainly have a different lens on. When I got this camera, it was bought as a multi-roll. It was bought for outside use, which is why it's actually got a viewfinder, which is unusual on any type of camcorder. You normally totally rely on the screen that you're looking at. Well, out in incredibly bright light and sunshine, you've got a job to see what the hell is on the screen. And although I haven't done it this year, last year I went out, you know, native orchids, butterflies and things like that. You need to know what you're filming. So I got one with a separate viewfinder, you know, which has got like an eyepiece which I can press up against my eye and shut the sun out and see what I'm actually filming, which made it more expensive, but I wanted that. But I didn't think about the lens type on it, and it's actually got quite a wide angle lens on it. Well, at the moment, that's serving a useful purpose, because standing here, I can get a fair bit of the grow room in. If I had a standard type lens on here, you currently would probably see 2 shelves. Yeah, but because it's got a wide angle lens, it gets a lot more in. Now, if ever I run to the expense of getting a different camera, yes, I would get a lightweight one. But what I'd really like is one with an interchangeable lens, and that really stonks the price up. But then, like on my DSLR, I can have a selection of lenses for different purposes. Because this has got a wide angle lens, it makes doing close-ups very difficult. Yeah? Whereas if I had a better lens, I could get in closer. One thing I don't try very often, if I stand back a bit, I'll see if I can get in closer with the zoom rather than me getting closer. I wonder if it'll stay in focus. Duh! That's not bad, is it? I don't know what, I mean, I'm looking at the screen and it comes and goes, but every now and again when it is sharp, that's quite close in. Gonna let me get any closer? That's not bad. If you look at the size of the bloom on the screen now, and I'll zoom out again. And move myself, and I bet I can't get anywhere near as close. I don't know, it's not much different, is it? But it's certainly easier to hold the camera still, like now. I'm actually very close to that bloom. I'm surprised that's staying in focus. It doesn't normally. Perhaps it's the bright colours that's doing it. That's about the limit though. So that's not too bad. Yeah, I get very jealous when you guys with your phones, modern phones and everything, the cameras on the phones are absolutely brilliant. You know, and there's people with a phone getting superb close-ups of quite small blooms that I just can't do. I'm very jealous of that ability. But yeah, I think I ought to perhaps play with the zoom a bit more. I use this camera in its absolute basic form. It's set to auto and zoomed out, and I point and film. I don't play with the settings, I don't muck about with all the things and the gadgets and bells and whistles on it. I just point it at things and press the record button, and the camera does most of the work for me. And most of the time it gets it right. I mean, there are occasions, I mean, I can make it do a silhouette quite easy. You know, just point it at plants where the light coming in from outside is much brighter than the plants. Well, that's going to form a silhouette. But my software that I've got has got a backlight facility on it, so I can actually change that view and enhance the foreground. Yeah, so I can do it with the software, and that's why I don't worry about the camera. Anyway, that's all I'm going to film out here today. Just really a quick look round, including a few things that aren't going to be here too much longer. When we get to the 8th, which seems quite a long way away, but it'll have come round quickly, I don't know how much it's actually going to be in flower. It may not be that much. I mean, I can safely say that probably the species Tolumnia, Friedrichsianum, they'll both be gone. Wedding bells will be well on its way out by then, I suspect. I'm not so sure about the wildcats, they do last well. Harveyanum will still be ticking over because as spikes fade, it's producing more. The thingy, epidendrum, that will still be in bloom because although it's dropping blooms at a hell of a rate, it's still producing buds at the top. So it's going to continue quite a lot longer. A little bit sad, those of you with the eagle eyes, if you count the number of spikes, we now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We did have 6. Somebody got a little bit enthusiastic about pulling some of the older blooms out yesterday and snapped one off. There was language. But if that had been my only bloom, I'd have been quite upset. Anyway, my phone's going now, so... And I'll need to shut the camera off because I'll get a copyright strike because of the soundtrack. I'm going to leave that in. I don't know whether the camera even picked it up, but I want to see. I want to see if YouTube actually spots that because my ringtone is actually a piece of music taken off of a CD, so it distinctly has serious copyright against it. But whether it can pick it up that far away in the background, I don't know. That might remove my adverts from this video, but as I say, it's not the end of the world. They come and go, so be it. And I know I've got a kitchen session to do later today, but I want to get my watering done out here again before the heat builds up and before all the fans come on. It's just holy clay pots and mounts again today, so not too much work out here. I'm spending more time working in the garden at the moment. I mean, my bonsai have to be watered every single day now. Those small shallow pots are drying very, very fast in this heat. And some of my other things around the garden are needing watering. And the garden itself, I'm having to go round with the hose now, so this hot weather is actually generating work for me. Work I don't normally have to do, not in the UK. It's very rare I have to water my garden, you know. Still, we got at least a week of it before it even looks like it might change. So we'll see how we go. It's certainly generating work. Oh, this was interesting as well. The chairman of the Wessex Orchid Society phoned me up last night in, well, not far off a desperate panic. She said, Roger, can you tell me all about your RO unit? Like, where did you get it? How much is it? How does it work? And everything like that. And so I said, yeah, okay. And she said, have you got a video about them? So I explained, you know, if you go on my channel, click on videos, there's a search option, just put in RO unit and you'll find whatever videos have got that in the title. You should find one about it. She said, only I'm nearly out of rainwater. And with no rain on the horizon, I'm going to be out soon, and I've had to resort to what little rainwater I've got. I've had to add tap water to it to bulk it up. And already it's bordering on a TDS level I don't want to use on, you know, on my Mazda Valias and things like that. So I desperately need to get some more water on the go. So she's after an RO unit. And I think there's going to be a lot of people, certainly from the Midlands downwards, that have just had no substantial rain for a considerable amount of time now. So I bet a lot of people's rain barrels are getting a bit thin on the ground, you know. That's partly one of the reasons why I stick to the RO water. The chances of the mains water going off are zero in this country. That just doesn't happen. So I'll always have a supply of RO water. As long as I can turn on a tap and water comes out, I'll have my RO water. I'm not reliant on our weather. Under normal circumstances, you don't have to worry. We get too much of the flipping stuff. But at the moment, it's getting a bit iffy. I'm sure some of the farmers are getting worried because there's a lot of crops, food crops now, that should be really pushing on this time of year, and they're stalling. You know, it's been on the news. They're stalling because they're just not getting rain. Now, some people have got irrigation systems, but that puts the cost up, obviously. So, yeah, we really could do with some rain. I hate to say it because lots of people are on holiday, you know, baking themselves in the sun, turning themselves into lobsters and things like that. But yeah, it's great, but you know, there are downsides to continuous hot weather, you know, without any relief, shall we say. Anyway, I'll have a kitchen session later on. Several things I've got in mind, not sure which I'll do yet, but and I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.